So here we go live. Hello, friends. I, Gennia Nuh, the project lead for the Story Project 11 by www.tellmeyourstory.biz, welcome you to the third session of this month of the Letters from Santa series. The project Letters from Santa is addressed to parents and children. Though Santa is a mythical creation, most of us are blessed with the participation of our parents, especially the mothers in our life who look after us, take care of us, fulfill our wishes, and guide us in the right path. This project aims at providing insightful guidance and evoke interest in certain aspects of life that may shape the life of children better. Today, I'm privileged to have Dr. Protim Sharma, Rianka Sharkar, and Dr. Harshali Singh for the panel discussion titled Real versus Virtual Experience: The Addiction to Gadgets. Let me begin with introducing the panelists. Dr. Sharma is Associate Professor and HOD of English at the Komuk College, Assam. He is an editor, reviewer, translator, language consultant, communication trainer, speaker, and his research interests include language and culture, English language teaching, organizational communication, identity, migration, and ethnicity. He has been published in various newspapers, books, and journals. He is a columnist with the Assam Tribune since 1997. Dr. Harshali Singh is a New Delhi based member judge of the District an academician, a teacher trainer, an occupational therapist, an avid reader, and a passionate painter. Her novels, A Window to Her Dreams, The Anatomy of Choice, and A Paradox of Dreams, form part of 9-book series comprising the Haveli series. She has won the prestigious a contest organized by the Times of India Group, the Global Progressive Woman Award at the International Leadership Summit, and the Changemaker Icon 2023 by She Forward. Her book, The Paradox of Dreams, was longlisted for the Oxford Book Cover Award. Rianka Sharkar is a Bangalore based children's writer and an environmentalist. She is an assistant professor of English in Mount Carmel Autonomous College and has authored several articles, short stories, and book reviews in various online platforms. She is an active member of the International Journal of Creative Research Thoughts. She is a gold medalist from Guru Nanak Dev University and has published papers on the partition history and narratives, folk tales, and cultural studies. So let's get going. The first question of the session today is: life has changed tremendously for everyone in the last 3 to 4 decades. There was a time when there were no mobiles and computers with every person, about which the generations today cannot think of. I request all of you to recall those days and tell us about the relationships, education, and entertainment in another era. Tell me your story. So I would like to begin with Dr. Harshali.
Uh, First of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be on the same platform as my prolific co-panelists and Eugenia. And thank you for that question. Thank you to tell me your story in oral. And my story is very, very. What can I say? I have ambled through life, and I've taken the winding path down this road because um, at the moment I'm working as a judge in the Consumer Forum, but I graduated as an occupational therapist, and I'm an 80s child. So I actually saw the arc from the rotary phone to the FaceTiming and the new Apple iPhones and the you know all the new gadgets that are there. I was witness to uh, the change that happened before us when technology kind of overtook our lives. So from going from the Chitrahar and the one movie on Sunday We went to OTT platforms right in our houses where there were choice. We were literally spoiled for choice. Um, so certainly, I think as an 80s child, I've had the fortune or misfortune, you could say, I would say fortune, of seeing that change and that shift. No, I still remember actually that my sister was in the hostel and we used to spend hours waiting for her STD call, and she would be standing at that, that STD booth and trying to call us. And I remember this that I told her, I said one day, there may be a phone in which I'll be able to see you when I speak to you, and we are FaceTiming day now. So we've been lucky in that way to see that shift, that change, where the first computers came in and the mobile phones came in before us, when we could even gather what they were all about. Of course, it took us time to unlearn everything that we had learned and then learn a new skill. But then who doesn't like challenges, especially people like us who are, who thrive on it. So it's been a wonderful, interesting journey. It's been a roller coaster ride, and writing became a very cathartic experience for me because all my professions that I was part of, from starting from right from being an occupational therapist, physiotherapist, to academician, to teachers training, as you said, and right now as a judge, involved a lot of interaction with people. There was a lot of engagement happening every day, you know, in all of my professions. And inevitably, I think just like a pressure cooker needs a valve to keep it safe, I think writing is that valve for me, and it keeps me alive and thriving. And that's all. What else does one need, right? So that's my story.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Dr. Protim, could you please
Yeah.
tell your story about an era where the gadgets were not in existence?
Okay. I think we belong to the era last century. This is called Gen X, right? Uh, so it was a carefree life, kind of, as Harshali just said. It's a non-individualistic kind of a situation there, sharing and caring, vacations in a relative's place when there was a holiday, break in our during our after exams, and uh, playing in the playground with real friends, not you know uh, with the characters in a box. And then there's a good old radio, of course, the gramophone, tape recorders, and movies, the VCDs we used to hire from neighborhood shops, and the television sets with antennas, and the Doordarshan days, the news, the Chitrahar, as you said, and the Hindi serials like Bunyad, Hamlok, Malguri days, uh, and then Mahabharata, Ramayana. I remember, we had a TV set, and our a few people from our neighborhood used to come to watch Mahabharata, and many a time the cricket matches uh, in our house. And then, actually, to use a cliche, it's an idiom. Those were the days, and we are the people. I really fondly remember our time. Now, the shift is really that uh, we can is in before our eyes. We have seen this shift from that era to this era. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, sir. Uh, Rianka, would you like to contribute to the same question?
First of all, I can very closely relate to both of you because even I am a 90s child, and like I grew up in a in Guwahati, and even I had a similar kind of growing experience. I was more of an outdoor person. Before that, I would like to narrate something. I think 1 year back, I had lost my mobile phone, and that is when suddenly it was like a shutter shock for me. I have to spend the entire 1 2 days without mobile, and I came to the realization that 24 hours is actually a lot of time, and I can do a lot of productive work. So we keep on whiling away our, precious time mostly in the phone. So as a child, I think, back in those days, everyone would, there was a kind of a pattern when you have summer holidays or any holiday for that matter. You'd go to the grandparents' house, all the cousins gathered, you play something, like physical playing. It's not that sitting with the some video games or something. And people were also creative with their games. We imagined, like today, what we are seeing as PUBGs and all. I think that is something we imagined, that we are some warriors and we are fighting. And it also promoted a lot of creativity for us. There was abundant reading and writing. This is one thing I remember. Today writing is almost, people want to either type it or they will send voice notes. But I think back in those days, we were too much into writing this stuff and all. And the family relations, in that matter, whenever we had holidays, it was a kind of a gathering. A good food would be cooked, or all of us would be together, play together, be outdoors. No, that is one thing I remember.
Thank you so much. Heading to the second question of the session. Development is definitely wonderful, but it also takes away a lot of beautiful practices. For example, handwritten letters are bygone. From your life experiences, please tell us the beautiful practices that you loved in your younger days but are obsolete now. We want to rekindle those memories and lived history for the generation today. I would like to begin with Protim sir this time.
Okay. Uh, the beautiful practices you when I talk about is the letters written. We used to write a lot of letters to our friends and cousins, and books were exchanged. Um, and there's a concept like pen friend. We used to have pen friends, um, and we used to write a lot. Write or used to keep diaries, and used to write short pieces. It could be poems also in our school days. Now we see children don't have time for all those creative stuff. Letters are not written. Uh, the emotions involved in letters is something you must talk about, which is missing nowadays. So even I miss those days. Those are beautiful practices we used to have. I wish they were there here now also. Right.
Thank you, sir. Uh, Harshali ma'am, could you please tell me what are the practices that you would like to rekindle for this generation?
Certainly, as Protim ji has just said that writing letters was certainly a very interesting thing to do. But for me, I think it would be the community feeling or belonging to that community, especially when the power would go off, as Pratinji was just saying that the power is off. There were no inverters, there were no generators, so everybody had to bring the candles and the food outside, and have that community eating, where the kids would. It was a completely different feel to living in a, because I was born and brought up in government flats. So as soon as the light would go, everybody used to get their dinner out, and all the kids would be together. And it was like a small party happening. There was no feeling of heat or cold or anything like that. So there was a lot of bonhomie, and it was very inclusive. There was nobody thinking about whether to hang out with this person or not, whether to talk to this person or not, which community, which religion. There was nothing like that. Not that I can remember. Mm, there was a lot of, what have you cooked today? Let's bring it out all together. So that was one very important thing that I miss now, and I wish my kids had more of it. The second thing would be the birthday parties. I remember those simple birthday parties of pineapple cake and wafers. That used to be it. There used to be some homemade cutlets and some fritters that our moms used to make. And every second or third day in those specific months, we were going out to for a birthday party, and the return gifts were just simple pencil and eraser, and that used to be enough. There was no feeling of that I want to up this person or I want to hire people to. So there was a lot of simple living. I think that eventually that is what encapsulates what I miss more is the simple living and high thinking. Again, another cliche, but the fact is that that was very much true. That people were more bothered about bonding and building relationships rather than trying to one up man each other and finding ways to kind of be relevant, let me put it like that more politely. And there was not so much about there was less of that FOMO thing we have now, which is because of the gadgets that we have, so many communication portals and everything. There's a lot of fear of missing out that is there, that I see and I observe a lot, which wasn't there so much. If you didn't know what was happening at any given point of time in any country or in even your next door neighbor's house, it was not an issue. You didn't need to comment on everything. Nobody wanted to tell each other or the virtual world or the world at large, in fact, what was happening in their house and their life. Now this is, with Twitter and even on Instagram, you see half the world is, on it and is constantly updating and telling each other that today I'm going for a morning walk, and that picture has to be there. And that has become our way of being relevant today, that unless we have those many likes, you're not I don't remember our parents being that bothered about all this. They were just busy living their lives and simply just going from one day to the next, and they were pretty happy with it. And then another thing I want to add quickly is the experience of going to the movie theater. Now we have so many PVRs, so many other experience that you can have, the full experience of the movies, as you say. But I remember my mom was a movie lover. She was a movie buff. She still is, and and we used to go every Friday or Saturday to watch a movie. And these were movies that we had no interest in. We used to just go for the popcorn and for the snacks that we used to get to eat. But we used to sit through those movies because our parents wanted to watch it. Now, if you tell a child that I want to go for a movie, come with me, even though you may not want to watch it, I don't know how many kids would agree to that. Now it's about them first. And so there's lack of patience, lack of allowing someone else to make the decisions for you, lack of that adjustment or letting people do things that they want to do and just going along for the ride. So those are the things I would miss. There's several others, but I think I'll stop here.
Uh, Rianka, would you like to contribute to the question as to what do you miss about those golden days?
I think I am just reminded of Gulzar's poem Kitabe, which again talks about how books are gradually moving out and technology is taking over. So I think I had a practice of collecting feathers of different birds, peacock, and even I had feathers of wild owl, which I got it from zoo, parrots, and I kept them in between my diary. And I think that was a trend during our time when roses from loved ones were, preserved in between the diary, and people leaves, keeping people leaves in between the books and then opening it maybe 1 or 2 years later. So these are certain things, which we used to do it. And slam book was a very popular culture where we would write slam books for each other. Yeah, and I think these are the things which have gradually gone away from us now. And as Dr. Harshali has mentioned, people have become impatient. There was a time, like I remember, we would wait for movies till the entire week, for daily soaps. We would wait for the entire time. Today, due to this OTT culture and everything, you have, you're bored, you just open the mobile, and you switch on to an OTT platform. You want to watch anything, pops up. But I think back in those days, we learned how to orient ourselves without technology, how we can control our emotions, how we can be happy, how we can, find entertainment without the intervention of technology. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, you reminded me just by that word, slam book. Yes, even I
Yeah.
was a great practitioner of that. Somewhere it got lost. So, coming to the third question of the session, given that all three of you are parents, how do you perceive children's obsession with the virtual world today? In a technologically advanced society where we are living now, what are your observations in the way children experience virtual and real life environments? I would like to begin this time with Rianka again.
Okay, so I'm a mother of 3 years old kid, and what I have witnessed is that today this virtual world is like a drug that is given to the children sometimes by the parents, so that we can engage in our own personal work, we can focus in our work. So it's like a drug that is given to them sometimes. And the moment you hand over the mobile phone or TV or something, they're instantly quiet, they're instantly focused, they're instantly into it. And I really don't know whether they what they imagine seeing it, but it's a kind of an instant change you notice. And when this virtual world is taken away from them, when they are asked, when they are playing, you'll feel the noise, you'll feel the sound. So it's like a shift which instantly makes. What I feel is that this virtual world is also taking away a lot of capacity from the children. It is making children very, what do you call it, lethargic right from a very young age. They want the same kind of thing. They want to keep watching it over and over, keep stressing their eyes. So I don't completely deny that they shouldn't be given to watch something, because of course there's certain things in certain way it can also benefit. But I think we need to restrict absolute time limit, and also kind of condition the children to understand that this is the time limit, you're not getting beyond it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rianka. Ma'am, Harshali ma'am, could you please
Yeah.
contribute as to how do you help and how do you see the exposure to the real and the virtual experience that the children have nowadays?
Yeah. So I was reading about this a few days back about technology with Chat GPT and all. And there is this sociology professor called Stephanie Malborn, who says, who's done a lot of study on this, especially in teenagers and young children. And she says that according to her studies, the situation is not as dire as, as parents and as a older generation, as a generation who is bringing up children is probably feeling. And it is a very classical, if you look at it, actually it's like a moral panic that is happening with parents, primarily because we're just swapping one kind of addiction for another. I mean, I remember being addicted to comic books and to radio and to TV. We've just swapped it to something else. And so I don't think the situation is very dire, but however, I do agree that anything too much of anything is bad, right? So certainly we need to be careful of the kind of time that is being spent on the device. However, how parents, I see a lot of parents panicking, constantly being on guard, constantly being, in that fear that your child is getting addicted. There is always a way out. There is always a choice that you have to, keep your phone down and talk to the child. So as adults, we have to be the role model that our child will look up to. If on the dinner table you are putting the laptop on and watching something or watching TV, and then you turn around and tell your child, oh, you can't do that, that doesn't make any kind of sense to me. I mean, you have to sacrifice your time of, like me time, as they say, with the device, to be able to tell your child not to do the same. Certainly, I feel there can be checks and balances that we can have, but I feel we've just swapped one kind of addiction for another. I was addicted to books. I used to read. You know how we used to put our novels in between our books and read them. So that's what kids are doing now. They have the phones there. So besides that kind of contention, I think And then secondly, if you see what has happened in the pandemic, even the play dates have been on your devices. You've forced to how parents were constantly taking away, or even adults were constantly taking away from the devices from the kids. But in the pandemic, in the COVID time, when everybody everybody was in lockdown, you were asking the children to have classes there. The kids are actually on the device from morning till evening, right? And you were saying that, talk to your friends on the mobile and have FaceTime, and so then it was okay. So I think we need to kind of look at it from an eagle's point of view or an eagle's perspective, wherein you take a step back and see, what can I do to change it? Do that first, and then kind of take it away from the kids. So sacrifice your own time with the device, and then think about taking it away from the child. Um, because I don't think without that, constantly saying that, my children, because we used to get a lot of parents like that, where the devices had just come out and all these games had just come out while I was in the education sector. That the parents would be always in a panic that, oh, wo saath mein khelta rehta hai, he's always on his video games and everything. And I would say, what are you doing with that time? Spend that time with your child. Whether it is the father or the mother, I don't think gender plays here. I think it's just the fact that you are able to interact and engage the child constructively at that point of time, or just spend time with the child, go for a walk, for all that is required. So I think essentially that is my 2 cents. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Protim, what do you think about this particular question? How do children experience virtual and real life environment? What is your observation?
Okay, no doubt their children are obsessed. They are addicted to the devices, mostly after the lockdown. And there is a survey by Childline. I would say that there was the increase of cyberbullying and cyber quarrel manifold during the lockdown. And I'd like to refer to what Rianka was saying about losing her phone for a few days or few months. And it's called nomophobia, no mobile phobia. And also, Harshali was saying about, in a dinner table, the family members, they're having dinner and they're all are having dinner at the same time they're busy with their devices. It's like it's called fobbing, the phone snubbing. There's a word called fobbing, and there's also another word in English called FOMO. We know that fear of missing out. So we are all obsessed with the devices, and there's there was a document on Netflix, The Social Dilemma, in 2020, where it shows that how AI manipulates the way we think, believe, we behave. We have to monitor the child's use of digital space. Um, by linking, we can do that, but in many ways, by linking our email with that of their account, or by remotely checking what they were doing. But what when you talk about obsession and using digital space by the young generation, I think they are obsessed with their self-esteem or instant gratification. The more likes and loves they get, uh, their dopamine level increases. They feel good. That's how the complex algorithms they work through AI. They'll make you more hooked to the devices. Um, was that a question, right, Zenia? Um, did I answer it?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
Yes, obviously. The virtual experience, that is the virtual validation of the social validation that they require, it's also a kind of experience. And they miss out on the real life experience, miss out on the time
Mhm.
that they could spend with their own family members who give them
Right.
the positive reinforcement. That is something that they miss out on, which, yes, obviously is a thing to be concerned about. So, yes, that is something worrying. Now, coming to the fourth question of the session, how do you think virtual experiences impact children's cognitive and social development compared to real experiences. And I'm asking this because, in the absence of the virtual world, many of us buried our heads into fiction books. Today, imagination and dreams are perhaps more audiovisual and 3D. Is that good or bad? I would like to begin with Protim sir this time.
Okay. As I said, the children, they are, the victims of digital overload, so to say. But there has to be a balanced life, balance between life and technology. Um, you know, their concentration level that is impacted, the sleep hormone, which is melatonin, that is affected if you have, exposure to screen time, and uh, their social development, their development of their uh, you know cognitive development, everything is impacted because of screen time. And as I told you already, there was cyberbullying, and the online predators are there, and the exposure to inappropriate content. Those issues are there. We need to address those issues as parents and as I'm an educator. We have to look in those aspects as well when you talk of spending time uh, in digital space. So I think the virtual experience the children they have, uh, it is you cannot say entirely is bad, or you cannot say it is good, but we have to strike a balance between this good and bad. And as parents or educators, we need to see to it that that balance is maintained. Yes.
Thank you, sir. What is your take on this particular question, Rianka?
Well, I think today we are in a generation we cannot completely, isolate children from the virtual world. That would be kind of injustice when it is a part and parcel of life. However, we can always, keep a check on the content that they are watching and also keep a check on the time, as Pratim sir had mentioned about the screen time. Coming to screen time, it is very important to restrict the screen time because it is primarily responsible in causing speech delay in young children. And there's also something called virtual autism. All these things come up because children are nowadays constantly glued to the screen right at a very early age. And if you see this mobile phone more than TV, TV maintains a certain distance, but I see young children, including my daughters, they will take the mobile phone right in front of their face and keep watching it. So I think it's very important that as a parents we keep a look into how the children are using the virtual stuff, and what is the content they're watching. It's very important because recently there was an instance, I think some 2 3 months back, where my daughter watched a cartoon where there was a pet dog and the boy was throwing a ball on the pet dog. Surprisingly, I didn't know that she actually learned that once we were outside. She took her ball and she wanted to throw it on a street dog. So I think it's very important that what is the content they are watching, whether it is constructive or not, how a child is going to take it, how it may affect the child. For instance, if there is any kind of violence and all, we need to keep a check that they are not watching those stuff. And like as I said, we need to curtail the timings, look into it. I also feel that certain times virtual world, controls their imagination. For instance, when we read, bedtime stories like Sleeping Beauty or even Mahabharata for that matter, when we read it, we had an imagination in our own mind about the characters, about the situation. But when, people get to watch it, I think the imagination is somewhere restricted. Yeah, so these are some of the observations I felt about it.
Thank you so much. Dr. Harshali, what is your take on this particular question?
So I think the internet is called the wild, wild west, because it's truly a dangerous place to be in unless you are cautious. And if you are cautious, then of course it enhances one's experience of engagement with other people and the world at large. But it can be harmful, as we've been discussing for the past 15 minutes. And so I say that the technology doesn't know how it is being used. Humans do, right? I know how I'm using that technology, how my children or my younger people in my family are using that technology. The technology doesn't know how it is being used. So uh, so I think eventually the onus lies as parents, as caregivers, as primary caregivers or secondary caregivers, to make sure, as Pratima was saying, and Rianka was saying, and Pratimji was saying, that it lies on us, the onus lies on us to make sure that uh, the interaction that we are having with technology and through technology is kind of mentored. So it is on the mentors, on the parents, to make sure that uh, you know there is the critical thinking skills are developed in our young ones. They are able to develop that understanding of what is the right information for them or not. And till that does not happen, it is then that duty lies on us, that we are cautious in our in our engagement with technology through our children. So there's so many now with parental checks, and there's so many other ways that we can do that. Of course, you cannot constantly be hovering over the child 24/7. So I think therein lies the very important factor of developing critical thinking skills for children, especially through mentors and educationists and parents, because that is how they will eventually safeguard their mental health, and in most cases physical health as well, because we all know that, as you were saying earlier, that when you lost the phone and everything, you had to log off to realize that there is a world beyond, you know mobile phones as well. So it's not like we've always had mobile phones, we've always known this, but till the power doesn't go off, we are unable to log off, we are unable to switch off, you know so last evening walk or night walk is also scrolling down that all the portals that we have. So certainly I think that is it has its advantages and disadvantages, no two questions on that. And I think that is it. As I said earlier, the onus is on us.
Thank you so much. So now we move on to people centric questions, or rather person centric questions. And I would like to begin with Rianka again this time. So, do you think there are age specific differences in the way children perceive virtual versus real experiences? Can virtual tools be used to enhance real life feelings or emotions for children? And if it is so, then how?
Well, I think certainly, virtual world does a lot of impact in children, and if we can, utilize it constructively, it will help a lot in their development. Of course, we need to set limitations for everything, just like we need to set limitations for, even reading. We shouldn't be reading late at night. We need to set limitations to our eating and sleeping habits. Similarly, we also need to set the limitations. These children are young children. They are obsessed with a cartoon series. It's something called Cocomelon or something. And I have, started to watch the same series with my child. And I've noticed one thing that, in this cartoon series, they have made it in such a way that it is a very utopian world where everything is perfect, where even the language is politically correct. Each and everything I have, watched it with, I go into the detail. I've also seen, when they are showing a household image, they always show that, the mother and the father both are either cooking in the kitchen or both are serving food. Even the children are helping out the parents. In the classroom scene, it's a kind of a, it's a kind of a mixture of all students. So there's a Mexican student, there's a African American, there's an Asian, everyone sharing food. So I was wondering if, a generation of children grow up watching this kind of content where right from an early age they are shown to break the binaries, they are shown certain things which are politically correct, to understand, the uses of language. For example, even this, I think certain childhood rhymes have been changed there. At least I grew up hearing rain, rain, go to Spain. Here I have seen them changing it to rain, rain, go away. And nowhere they have used the word Spain. Another is Baba Black Ship, which was considered controversial in Australia, connecting to racism. So here I have seen it is not just Baba Black Ship, it is Baba Black Ship, white ship, pink ship, blue ship. So they have added all the colors. So I was wondering, if children grow up watching this kind of content, maybe they will be in a better world. Maybe their imagination, ideology will be much different, because right from childhood, this is what they have witnessed. Yeah. So this is my, idea of virtual on the children.
Could you please repeat the name of the show?
It is called Coco Melon. It's very popular with young kids, and I think all mothers and all children of that age group will know that.
Okay, so yes, this show must be interesting because it encourages inclusivity and gender neutrality, not only in terms of seeing but also in terms of practice. So yes, it serves as a very good content for children to grow up with, because the ideology gets conditioned, and it will obviously reform our ideas about how this binaries and everything can be broken down, and inclusivity for everyone can be encouraged, thereby having a more harmonious society, so as to say. Yes, I would like to see that. I have heard it, but I've never seen it. But thank you so much for bringing this up. Thank you. So, the next question I would like to ask Protim sir. Sir, how can parents and educators balance the use of virtual experiences with real life experiences for children? You see, often the balance does not work if imposed. So, what do you think would be an intelligent way to make children more responsible with their own virtual involvement?
Well, as I said, there is the digital overload nowadays we see everywhere, and the digital communication can be overwhelming. With constant notifications, messages, and whatnot. And as Rianka was said about setting up boundaries, like using filters, or you can say prioritization techniques are there, and taking breaks when needed from your screen time. Those we need to monitor as parents and also educators. And it's important for us, to strike a balance between these two worlds, real and virtual. How to do that? Encourage them, the children, to engage in uh, both real and digital world experiences, and while monitoring their safety and well-being. That is more important. We have to monitor their safety and well-being, and we have to provide them the opportunities for learning and growth, and we can help them develop into uh, well-rounded individuals, who are equipped as 21st century citizens. And for that, I think we see, many parents giving, taking the easy way out, like, giving the phone or the gadgets, um, to stop the tantrums, stop their child um, from, divert their attention, and feed them from their very young age. We see many parents resorting to, this easy way. But I think rather than that, we have to encourage them, like, comfort talks, maybe, games, storytelling, etc., to, escape from their, you know, to make them, no, to keep them out of their obsession. We can do that. And we can set some time, I'll say no gadget hours in a day. We can do that, or we can give them incentives, like taking them on a holiday, maybe, or small breaks, maybe to a restaurant, uh, or gifting them their objects of desire. Obviously, not another electronic equipment, but some other, maybe a book, maybe some other things, a toy, maybe. We can give them as incentives if they stay away from devices, electronic devices. We can say that to our kids, and I think if our kids are smart, we have to be smarter. Like uh, as Dr. Harshali was saying, we have to develop their creativity and their innovative, make them innovative, or um, their critical thinking skills, which is one of the most important 21st century skills, critical thinking skills, or like by doing them, make them do art and craft, music, theater, outdoor activities, games, etc., etc., etc. And instead of shouting from a distance, don't do this, don't do that. What we can do is, approach the child and uh, touch their shoulder, or like eye contact. We have to connect with them. Actually, even we don't have time as parents, as professionals. We don't have time, but we have to give them quality time at home. That's what I think is the solution. If the parents give them quality time at home, we also need to switch off our devices for that quality time, and concentrate on our kids, their well-being. I think that is one solution I can see. And of course, striking a balance is the bottom line here. Good and bad, both. We have to strike a balance, and it will be a better world if we can do that. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Coming to the final question of the session, and it is obviously directed to Harshali. I'm a practitioner, and I cannot not ask you about cyber crimes, especially when it comes to children. Would you please share your advice with the caregivers so that the adults can be more careful and induct the children accordingly?
Yes. So certainly, as we've been discussing for a while now, children are the most susceptible, right, to cybercrime or to any crime for that matter, because obviously they are dependent. What is cybercrime? What are the different types of cybercrime? The most anybody who asks that question, the first thing is cyberbullying, right? But there's also harassment. There is identity theft. There is fraud. There are several other online dangers that can harm children's mental and emotional health. So the first thing that we can do is know about your child's online behavior. As Rianka was just saying, that she is part of the engagement that her child is doing on screen. So I think that is the first step, that you have to know where your child or what your child is looking at. Basically, assessing how your child is using the internet. Are they logging into any social media sites? How active are they? What are they liking? Are they being gaslighted on groups? Is someone ostracizing them? So behavior, that the immediate change of behavior of a child should kind of raise your red flags, and you should be able to you should, if you don't do it by now, you should know how your child is accessing social media sites. And to do that, you need to first have the freedom to communicate to them. I think communication is the underlying word whenever I talk about any kind of crime, especially cyber crime, is that because unless you talk to your child, unless they feel secure in telling you that that they're able to share their feelings with you, that there are any kind of gaps um, in their growth, or that they're feeling any kind in any way emotionally susceptible to people online, uh, it will be very difficult for parents to break that wall, because the child will always have a filter in place. I'm talking about younger, but also small children, because normally children do not quickly go and talk to their parents if there is anything happening online. So communication lines open, being for with the child, is very, very important. Then we do need to teach our children how to be cautious when they're interacting with people online. So, for example, I'll just give you a small example. We'd gone out with my daughter and her friend and her mother. And I remember being on the beach in one of the beaches of India. And, I was taking the kids to the side. I said, let's just go on one side. So, her friend's mother, she said, why are you being so cautious? I said, I would rather err on the side of caution rather than an experience to the children which they may always remember as a bad experience. So I would always recommend that parents err on the side of caution, wherein they are more careful than probably the child. So again, coming back to, I would circle back to this saying that communication is your one and only bastion that you need to conquer with your children, not only for online safety but otherwise. Overall, I think that is the first thing that as parents we need to do, is to know, the kids need to know that they can come to you with anything. They may have done something which they may have bullied somebody, and then later on realize that can easily turn against them. So creating that safe space, listening without judgment, these kind of things are very, very essential, and that requires a lot of counseling even for parents, because there we are not used to having our child come to us with some things which we may not be comfortable with. But environment will only be created if we listen without judgment. So that's one of the very essential things. Then, as I think someone was saying about setting rules for internet use and parental controls, etc., that is again very, very important. You need to know, one of the things that I always say whenever I'm having a talk on cyberbullying is that normally we give a laptop to a child that use this, and it's a gift to you. But actually, till a certain age, children should be only allowed to use the laptop or the PC in an open space, so that you are aware of the sites, as I was saying earlier, where they are visiting, what time are they going to. So the study area, or where they can access the internet from, should be in a place where parents can, easily go into. So there's no locking, there's no closing the door, etc. around that, if possible, of course. So your child's online interactions are very much in your purview. So they're not hidden from you, because essentially what we are trying to do here is, the key is actually to provide age appropriate content to the child, and those security measures have to be placed in such a way that the children don't feel harassed even by the parents, and the parents don't feel insecure what my child is doing. Then, because social media is actually fraught with predators, and it's actually a cesspool of cyberbullying. So whatever we may say that it is excellent, and however we use it, because all that knowledge comes only after using it, not before. So for very young children, we were again discussing it, that you have to monitor your child's social media accounts, have access to their passwords, encourage your child to realize that he or she should only connect to people who they know in real life, and avoid sharing personal information with people they are not aware of. you know so So as I said, critical thinking skills are very essential, as Protim is also reiterating that, especially how to protect your personal information, how not to give your address, how not to tell people about your, which school do you go to, etc., and only interact with people you know in real life. And the last thing is, I think this is the most important. Take action if the child is a victim of cyberbullying. Most of us, especially Indian parents, it's a way of life for us to say, "Acha, chhod do, don't go there." If something has happened, we don't like to take action. We don't like to confront. But actually, what you're telling the child is that if you go through an episode which is painful or it is emotionally draining for you, as a parent, I'm not there to support you. I'm not there to take your side. So I always tell people that if your child is a victim of a cyber crime, go take immediate action, take those steps that you need to take for not only the child but also to safeguard that area for other children. Because if you leave a person or if you leave a platform without taking action on them, then they are free to do that to other kids. So you may have taken your child out, but understand that there are other children who are still susceptible to this predator or whoever's doing the cyberbullying. So I think it is as adults, it is our first duty and our responsibility to be good role models. And uh, you know I think that is my main that is the point I always kind of harangue again and again, and I keep beating the drum on this, that only if you are the right role model, because your kids are looking at you, your children are the ones who are looking at you constantly, imbibing all the characters that you are showing in your house, in not on the social media profile, but actually when you are dealing with your family members, they are going to imitate that. So if tomorrow they are not behaving well, or if there are any other issues, please know that they have picked this up from the house. They have not gone outside anywhere to pick it up. To a certain age, when they are very they're very open to and absorbing what is happening in the house, even though it might not be in their face. So so I always say, be very, very careful how you behave with each other and how you engage with each other. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was so enlightening. And I guess this discussion will serve as a good way for the parents, means a good kind of an example for parents to set boundaries as to where the real and the virtual should be divided and guide their children to a better path. So, coming to the end of the session, I would like to conclude with a small note from my side that is from Kumi Danga to Chua Chui to PUBG and Candy Crush. Handwritten letters to emails and instant messaging, from Adda in colleges, universities, and Gajtala to group video calls, from community in Paras to online communities in Facebook, from Tintin to terribly tiny tales, and from Tom and Jerry to Peppa Pig. We all grew up somewhere. As I already talked, development is wonderful and is essential, but the nostalgia for those golden days remains and longed for. And who can serve as better example to come out of this virtual sea than our parents? Parents are the ones who serve as the lighthouse that guide us away from the dark depths of the virtual sea to the land of reality. Parents should encourage to come out from the comfort bubble of individuality to a space where they learn to reorient themselves to varieties of people so that they can survive in the real concrete world. As it is, we shouldn't forget those are the ones who survive, who are the fittest emotionally, physically, and mentally. So there should be a divide in virtual and the real world experiences the children are exposed to. So, coming to the end, tell me your story. Calls for submission on the story prompt letters from Santa. Registrations are also open for the writing program season 10. We hope to hear from you. Till then, stay well, stay happy, stay together. Good night, and Eid Mubarak to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much for
Thank you so much.